It was a bitterly cold morning in the heart of the city, the kind of day when the wind bites at your skin, and the air itself feels heavy with frost. People hurried along the streets, heads down, hands buried deep in their coat pockets, each person too focused on their own discomfort to notice anything around them. Amid the rush, a young girl named Lila walked slowly, her worn-out shoes crunching against the icy pavement. Her coat was thin, her scarf frayed, but her heart was warm, warmer than anyone could have imagined on such a freezing day. As she passed by the crowded park, something caught her attention, a small figure sitting alone on a snow-covered bench. It was a young boy, no older than 8 or 9, trembling violently. His clothes were far too light for the weather, just a thin shirt and trousers, with no jacket or gloves. His lips were pale, and his tiny hands clutched each other in a desperate attempt to stay warm. People walked by, some casting brief glances, others pretending not to see. Everyone assumed he must belong to someone, or simply didn't want to get involved. But Lila couldn't ignore him. Something deep within her, perhaps the memory of her own childhood struggles, made her stop. She hesitated for a moment, aware that she had little to give. Her fingers were already numb, and her scarf was her only protection from the cold. Still, she stepped closer and gently asked, "Hey, are you okay? Where's your coat?" The boy looked up, his eyes wide and scared. He didn't speak, just shook his head slowly. Without another thought, Lila untied her old scarf and wrapped it around his neck. "Here," she said softly, "this will help a little." She took off her gloves, the only pair she owned, and slid them onto his small hands. "You need these more than I do." The boy looked at her in disbelief. No one else had stopped. No one else had cared. But this poor girl, with nothing but a few coins in her pocket, treated him with the kind of kindness that felt like sunlight in winter. As Lila sat beside him, rubbing his hands to warm them, the rest of the world kept moving. But in that small, frozen corner of the park, something beautiful happened, a moment of pure humanity, unseen by others, but destined to change both their lives forever. After helping the boy get some warmth from her scarf and gloves, Lila realized that he was still shivering uncontrollably. The city streets offered no refuge, and the biting wind made it impossible for a child alone to survive outside for long. Without hesitation, Lila gently took his hand and led him toward a small nearby café. The boy's tiny fingers were trembling inside her gloves, but he followed her quietly, sensing her sincerity. Inside the café, the warmth hit them instantly, a stark contrast to the icy streets outside. The smell of fresh bread and hot chocolate filled the air. Lila guided the boy to a corner table and motioned for him to sit. She pulled out her last few coins, not much, but enough for a small bowl of soup. She ordered it immediately, asking the kind-faced waitress to make it extra warm. While waiting, Lila spoke softly to him, trying to comfort the boy. "It's okay now. You're safe," she said. But he remained quiet, looking down at the table. She realized that he wasn't just cold, he was scared, vulnerable, and alone in a world that seemed to have ignored him. When the soup arrived, she encouraged him to eat first. "You need it more than I do," she said, smiling gently. The boy hesitated at first, unsure if this kindness was real, but eventually, he took small spoonfuls. Lila watched him closely, making sure he drank hot tea to warm his body from the inside. Her eyes, full of concern and empathy, never left his face. What made this moment remarkable was that Lila didn't ask for anything in return. She didn't question who he was or why he was alone. She didn't even expect a thank you. She acted purely out of compassion, guided by the belief that every child deserved care and warmth, especially when the world had turned its back. The boy slowly relaxed, the shivering easing as the warmth of the café and Lila's selfless attention enveloped him. For the first time in hours, maybe days, he felt safe and noticed, not as a forgotten child, but as a human being worthy of kindness. In that café, amid the soft chatter and clinking cups, a profound lesson unfolded: true generosity doesn't measure wealth, status, or gain. It manifests quietly, in acts of empathy toward those who need it most. Lila's small act of kindness, given without expectation, not only comforted the boy physically but left a lasting emotional imprint on him, one that would later change both their lives forever. After the boy had eaten and warmed up slightly, Lila felt a small sense of relief. His shivering had lessened, his cheeks regained a hint of color, and his tiny hands were no longer painfully cold. She offered him a warm smile, hoping it would reassure him that he was safe. Yet, before she could even ask his name or learn anything about him, the boy quietly stood up. I have to go now," he murmured, his voice barely audible. Lila's heart sank. She wanted to know where he lived, if he had anyone to take care of him, and if he was truly safe. But when she asked him, he shook his head softly, giving her only a fleeting, shy smile. There was a mysterious air about him, a quiet dignity in the way he thanked her, a composure unusual for a child of his apparent age and circumstances. Without another word, he slipped out of the café, disappearing into the bustling streets as silently as he had come. Lila watched him go, her mind swirling with worry and questions. She felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness, satisfaction because she had helped a child in need, but sadness because she had no way of knowing if he would be okay once he returned to the cold streets. For Lila, this encounter seemed like a small chapter in the day-to-day struggles of life, a fleeting moment where she could extend a helping hand. She returned to her modest home, her body tired from the cold and her heart heavy with curiosity. She told herself that perhaps the boy had a home nearby or a guardian who would come looking for him. Yet, a nagging sense of mystery lingered. There was something about the boy that felt unusual, something beyond the ordinary struggles of street life that she had often witnessed. The mysterious disappearance of the boy made Lila reflect on her own life as well. Despite having little, she had chosen to act, to care, to extend kindness without hesitation. And in that moment of uncertainty, she realized that sometimes, the most meaningful acts don't get immediate recognition or gratitude. They simply ripple quietly, in ways that might not be visible at first. Little did Lila know that this brief encounter would not remain a simple memory. The boy she had helped would soon reappear in her life, not as a lost child, but as someone whose identity and family connections would change her fate forever. For now, though, all she had was the fleeting impression of a child she had helped, and the warmth of having done the right thing in a world that often ignored the smallest cries for help. The morning after the mysterious encounter, Lila was performing her usual routine, sweeping the small courtyard outside her modest home, the cold air still biting at her cheeks. She was lost in thought, replaying the events of the previous day, the shivering boy, the café, the small warmth she had managed to offer him. She wondered if he had made it home safely, but she never expected that he would return, not in any ordinary way. Then, without warning, the distant rumble of a luxury car engine reached her ears. She looked up and saw a sleek, black vehicle pull up in front of her home. Two sharply dressed men stepped out and approached her. Their posture and demeanor suggested urgency and importance. Lila felt a flicker of unease mixed with curiosity. "Are you Lila?" one of the men asked politely but firmly. Yes, I am," she replied, trying to hide her surprise. The men exchanged a glance before one spoke again. "We are here on behalf of a very important young boy you helped yesterday. He is safe now, but his family has been searching everywhere for him. They want to meet you." Lila's heart skipped a beat. She recognized the description, the boy she had helped. Suddenly, the realization dawned on her, the boy was no ordinary child. His family?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes," the man said. "He is Ethan, the only son of Mr. Jonathan Clark, one of the wealthiest and most influential businessmen in the country. He wandered off during a family event, and no one could find him. You are the reason he stayed safe." Lila froze, a mixture of disbelief, awe, and nervousness coursing through her. She had helped a child out of pure kindness, without knowing his identity or status, and now the boy's family, a family of immense wealth and influence, was at her doorstep. Shortly after, Ethan himself arrived, escorted by his parents. He looked the same as she remembered, shy, small, and grateful, but there was now an unmistakable air of sophistication about him. He smiled softly and simply said, "Thank you, Lila." The encounter was surreal. Lila, a girl who had struggled her entire life with scarcity, suddenly found herself in the presence of one of the most powerful families in the nation. The unexpected visit was a testament to the fact that her small act of kindness had not gone unnoticed. What she thought was a fleeting, insignificant gesture had far-reaching consequences, a reminder that true generosity never goes unrewarded, even if the rewards come in forms one could never have imagined. The moment Lila stepped into the Clark family's luxurious home, she felt as though she had entered another world. The marble floors gleamed, sunlight streamed through enormous windows, and every detail reflected wealth beyond imagination. Yet, despite the grandeur, Lila's attention was drawn not to the opulence but to the boy she had helped, Ethan. His eyes met hers, filled with quiet gratitude, and she realized that her simple act of kindness had created a connection far stronger than money or status could ever buy. Mr. Jonathan Clark, Ethan's father, approached her with a warm smile and extended his hand. "Lila," he began, his voice both authoritative and gentle, "what you did yesterday was extraordinary. While everyone else walked by, you stopped to help a child in need. That speaks volumes about your heart and character." Lila, overwhelmed and nervous, could barely speak. She had never imagined that helping someone in need could lead to such recognition. Ethan tugged gently at her sleeve, a shy smile forming on his face. "Thank you," he whispered again, and Lila felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time in her life, her courage and compassion were acknowledged not just by those around her, but by people who held the power to make a significant difference in her future. Mr. Clark explained that they wanted to ensure Lila and her family would never struggle in the same way again. He offered her a full scholarship to the best school in the city, ensuring her education would be secure. They also gifted her family a comfortable home, giving them stability and security they had never known. Beyond material rewards, Mr. Clark offered her a mentorship and a position in his company when she was ready, recognizing the qualities of integrity, empathy, and diligence she had displayed, qualities far more valuable than wealth alone. Lila's life transformed overnight, yet she remained humble and grounded. She understood that the rewards she received were not just for her, but a reflection of the universal truth that selfless acts of kindness are never wasted. What she had thought of as a simple gesture, offering warmth and compassion to a child in need, had created ripples far beyond her imagination. As she returned home that evening, a sense of fulfillment settled over her. She realized that true wealth is measured not by money or possessions, but by the courage to act with empathy, the generosity to help without expectation, and the resilience to face life's challenges with an open heart. Lila had lived her values, and in return, life had opened doors she never thought possible. In the end, a single act of kindness, a scarf, a pair of gloves, a warm meal, had changed her destiny forever, proving that even in a world driven by power and wealth, the greatest rewards belong to those who give without expecting anything in return.